Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another of Turnstile Tours virtual programs. I'm Stephen DW, coming to you from Flushing, Queens, and very excited today to be joined by just across the Hellgate over in the Bronx. We have Adam Green of Rocking the Boat, a fantastic organization. I'm a huge fan of their work and really excited to introduce them to you, or to help him introduce them to you. And this is an organization that uses maritime heritage, something that I find myself talking about here on Tuesdays on a regular basis, using maritime heritage for youth development, teaching STEM skills. We're helping kids learn how to navigate and to teaching them to build boats. We're so completing projects, practical skills about construction, also ecology and learning about water science, and just learning how to get things done. So a lot of great stuff that they're doing there, and great service to the public in a community of need. But we'll talk all about that in gory detail very shortly. But before we do, I want to welcome those of you who've been with us before, and those of you who are new to us. Thank you for all of your support. Those of you who've been here before, we could not do this without you, and we really want your help as we move forward. Friday, we are doing a sort of town hall style meeting where we want your feedback. Tell us what you like, what you'd like to see moving forward as we all transition. New York City just opened up its first stage of opening this week. So yesterday it started. So we're moving forward with that. And part of my team is with me today. We have Doug in the background. He's producing. So if you want to connect, because that's what Turnstile Tours is about. We connect people. Typically, we do this through in-person tours in places with partners, nonprofit partners like the Brooklyn Historical Society or the Brooklyn Navy Yard or the Prospect Park Alliance. And we connect people in person. Today, we're connecting people through Zoom, and the way you connect through Zoom is through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. You see a little box that says chat, and you can open that box and select all panelists to talk to just me and my colleagues, or you can select all panelists and attendees and share your comments with everyone back there, and tell us where you're from. Let us know what brought you here today. And my colleagues, Doug in particular, will respond, and you'll also bring your questions up to me. So glad to have some familiar folks out there, and look forward to seeing more of you joining us as we move along. Also back there, we have Cindy, and she is, of course, the founder of Turnstile Tours. She is closed captioning, so if you want to read what you're hearing, or a close approximation of that, hit the closed captioning button at the bottom, and you'll see what Cindy is able to type to keep up with my rapid fire pattern. If you don't want to see closed captioning, you're on a tablet or a phone, you have to go into your settings, get out of the Zoom, go into your settings, and take off the closed captioning so that you can watch without the words. Hello, Paula from Washington, D.C. Welcome, and hope everything's going well down there. Do want to, before we bring in Adam, a couple last points. In addition to Friday with our stakeholder focus group meeting, also tomorrow, Wednesday, we have a show we're calling Missiles and Meteorites. This is about polar exploration tied to the Brooklyn Navy Yard. On Thursday, we are talking to artist Sarah Olson about learning to see the Earth. A very exciting program. We've done a series of arts-focused programs that we've been doing here. Of course, I like to think that boat building is arts-focused in its own way. And so let's just jump right to it and bring in Adam Green from up there in the Bronx. Adam, welcome to Turnstile Tours. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be sharing what we are all about with all of you.
Excellent. Really, I can't tell you how much I love what you do, and that you do it based in maritime heritage. I know we'll get into details around the Whitehall later, but because maritime heritage is so much something that we talk about here, can you tell us, is this a good time to talk about the Whitehall in history and how the Whitehall, how the Whitehall entered into what you do, or are we going to get into that later?
Well, I guess I was thinking we would get into it later, but I'm certainly happy to give a little bit of maybe the history of rocking the boat, which will address that
Absolutely,
now.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just kind of start off start off there. So my name is Adam Green. I'm the founder and executive director of Rocking the Boat. We are a youth development organization, and we base all of our youth development work. We work with young people in the South Bronx and Hunts Point and adjacent neighborhoods, which are among the very poorest in the nation. We're in the 15th congressional district, which is the poorest congressional district in the country, and we found that giving kids the opportunity to create real things that actually work and literally take them places is an incredibly powerful medium for empowerment and opportunity and change, especially in a time like this, both as a result of the pandemic and the recent murder and protests following that. So we're feeling very much sort of recommitted to the depth of our mission. I think that the challenge that we're struggling with right now is the heart of our work is hands-on experiential education. We actually don't just build boats, we build them and then we use them to do a whole range of environmental science and restoration on our local Bronx River, and then we use them to sail and to teach sailing. So we have 3 programmatic tracks: boat building, environmental science, and sailing. And you know, kids are not able to actually come to the shop now and get their hands dirty and get their feet wet and muddy, which is really what Rocking the Boat's medium is all about. So though our mission is very much alive and well in supporting young people and their families through incredibly challenging life experiences, the way that we've done that has shifted quite radically, and we'll talk more about that. But
you're building connections there. You're between kids and their environment, kids in their locality, kids in their history, and also kids in the community. I mean, you've done boat rides in the past, both on sailboats and rowboats. And
yeah, absolutely. So we run really kind of 3 different scopes of programming. The core of our work is the youth development work. We have about 80 kids a semester from 9th through 12th grade who participate in our boat building, environmental science, and sailing programs, have the benefit of a 3-person social work staff. We run long-term alumni support services that include college scholarships and post-secondary support, and we really stay with kids from the time they join us in 9th or 10th grade all the way through high school, into college or trade school and beyond, and then we hire them back to work for us. So a third of our full-time staff are former students, and all of our part-timers are former students.
That's fantastic.
But then some of those jobs are defined by broader community outreach. So we run public programs for school groups and camp groups that serve probably about 1,500 people a year. And then every Saturday, again in normal times, over the summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we bring our rowboats and sailboats down to our down to the park along the banks of the Bronx River and take whomever wants out rowing or sailing. And we do a whole bird watching program as well. So it's free, and well, probably next summer we'd love to see anyone come down any Saturday from 1 to 6. We're here, and it's one of the most unique experiences you can imagine. And I think part of what makes it unique is you're getting out on traditional wooden, solid wood hand-built Whitehalls, rowboats. The other part of it is you're on the Bronx River, and I'll be showing you some videos and pictures shortly so you'll get a sense. But it's a place like you would never imagine exists in anywhere in New York City, particularly in a neighborhood as economically challenged as this one. It's absolutely beautiful. And so a big part of our work really over the years has grown not just to giving kids a chance to build boats and learn through experiential education, but to introducing the larger community to this amazingly beautiful natural resource and giving them the access to get out onto it, which in turn improves their lives in significant ways. So back to Whitehall.
Place, yeah. Like you're next to a recycling facility, a heavy industrial recycling facility, and you're right next to a major food distribution facility.
Yeah.
Your neighborhood is just, not only is it beset with poverty, but it's also heavily industrialized and vital to the to New York's
Hunts Point, another demographic is actually the zip code is 10474, and Hunts Point is the poorest zip code east of the Mississippi River. But it's also the place where all of these really, really necessary city functions happen, and every city has places like this. So and they're not pretty. So there's 15 waste transfer stations in Hunts Point. There are there's a huge sewage Department of Environmental Protection sewage treatment plant. There's a floating prison. If you didn't know, there is a floating prison in New York City called the Vernon Sea Being Correctional Facility, tied right up to the shores of Hunts Point on the Bronx River, or sorry, on the East River. And then there is most significantly the world's largest food distribution center, meat, fish, and produce, which as a result, 15,000 diesel trucks are coming in and out of Hunts Point every day, and that results in some of the very worst air quality in the city, highest asthma rates in the city. So this is a community that's really, really challenged pretty much on every level, socioeconomically, environmentally, but then at the same time, there's this amazingly beautiful natural resource that people have access to, and we feel incredibly fortunate to be able to facilitate that access. Back to the Whitehall, when I first started doing this, it was a volunteer project when I was in college, and then I created a connection with a local community college that ran an after-school program in the South Bronx, and I went looking for a boat design to build. And my thought was, well, we're in New York City, we should build a boat that is native to New York, just like all the people we're working with, and a boat that has some kind of rationale. Like, we're not just building some random boat, we're building a boat that has a narrative that makes sense here. And so I went researching, and I found one option. The only small boat that was native to New York City was called the Whitehall. And
outside of the dugout canoe, of course.
Right, there's that. But yes, rowboats I was specifically looking for, and dugouts are kind of hard to do inside. And then there's, you know, the fire department to be. But and so that was, you know, I did all this research, and that was really, you know, spent a lot of time down at the South Seaport Museum, and that was it. And so Whitehalls, it turns out, are this amazingly beautiful, functional vessel that were sort of the taxis of New York Harbor through the 18th and 19th centuries. And if you needed to move small goods or people from one place to another, very much like taxis are used today, you use a Whitehall. So ship-to-shore transportation, going from one pier to another. If you look at old photographs of New York Harbor, you see the big schooners and sloops, and then you see all these little spots all over the place dotting the water, and those are all Whitehalls. The thing about Whitehalls that you know, here we are 20 plus years later, I started doing this in 1998, really, that is so wonderful is they're not just physically beautiful, they have this gorgeous wine glass transom, and very, they're just a very sexy boat, but they're incredibly stable, and they track really well, as in they don't slip around. So they're great as educational rowing vessels, and at this point they make up the core of our wooden boat fleet. We've probably got about 45 boats. We've built about 54 boats in the last 20 some odd years.
Wow.
We still have about 45 of them, and probably about 30 of those are Whitehalls.
Wow.
And we have 14 footers and 17 footers. Those are the two most traditional lengths, and we also built a forward Whitehall derived gig, a racing gig that's now, I guess that's 27 feet long. And I'll show you soon in the shop, we're building another forward gig, a replica of the American Star, which was the first boat to race in New York Harbor, and kind of that kicked off the American crewing culture that very much still exists today. So the Whitehall, you know, I used to say when I was the boat builder, if you were, to my students, if you know, you were a kid in you know, the 1850s, and you wanted to go clubbing in Manhattan, how do you think you'd get there? You'd get in a Whitehall, and you'd row across the Harlem River or the East River. That's how you would travel. And I think I was looking for a boat that had some kind of connection, because why the heck else would any kid decide to build a boat in the middle of the South Bronx? There's no practical reason for that, and I was looking for a way to connect that experience to something that had some relationship to their own lives. So that's a little bit about how we got into building Whitehalls.
Well, I know you've covered a lot of the story there, but you also have a great slideshow with some fantastic video that speaks to your very recent experience with the pandemic. So can we take a look at that?
Sure, let's do it, and hope the technology cooperates.
And again, folks out there watching, feel free to chime in on the chat. We'll get your questions up here. as we bring up this slideshow and give you some visuals on the space that we've been talking about in Hunts Point.
All right, so Stefan, how's that looking from your end?
That looks great.
All right, so here we go. Our tagline at Rocking the Boat is kids don't just build boats, boats build kids, and that really, as I was saying before, is everything that we're about. Boats are and environmental science and sailing. Those are tools. Those are mediums for us to do youth development work. Our primary job is to help young people succeed in life and seek any professional and personal direction they want in an informed and empowered way. I thought I would just start with a 3-minute video that shows what a typical afternoon at Rocking the Boat looks like. So I will hit play and hope it cooperates. This was filmed last spring, I believe. Let's see.
Just take a moment to get started. There it is.
Whoops.
It's a tremendous amount you do.
Yeah, and that's all just in one afternoon. So let's see if I can, all right, there we go for the transition. It worked. So yeah, that kind of gives you a little taste of our boat building, environmental science, sailing, and social work programs. You know, I've covered some of this already, but we've been running consistently since 1998. About 30,000 young people have participated in our programs during that time. We serve about 4,000 annually. We have about 800 alumni who've been through the youth development program. And I'd say we're actively in contact with about 150 to 200 of those kids, and track them with at least 6 years out after their graduation.
That's so important. I'm really thrilled you do that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's our their success is our success, quite literally. It's their ability to move on and grow and successfully as adults. That is a reflection of the success of our work. Over the time I mentioned earlier, we've built 54 boats. 55 and 6 are somewhat frozen now, but nonetheless in the shop. And I'll give you a chance to check them out. We have 21 full-time staff, including 8 former students, and all of our part-timers are alumni as well.
We got a question from Barbara. She wants to know how long it takes to build one of these boats, and she's figured out a bit of the mystery. She wants to know which came first, Whitehall Street or the Whitehall boat.
Well, the second question is an easy one. The street came first. The boat was built on the street, hence its name came as a result. How long it takes to build a Whitehall? Well, you know the answer. It all depends. And in our case, at Rocking the Boat, we build basically one a year. We start in the summer and launch our boats in the spring. So
and where do you launch?
We launch at our park, immediately adjacent to us. So those images you saw in the video are at Hunts Point Riverside Park, which is this gorgeous little street end park that leads right down to the Bronx River. So all of our boats live on dollies in shipping containers. We roll them out of the shipping containers into our yard, into the park, and into the water. So
what do they typically weigh?
Whitehall, 14-foot Whitehalls weigh about 300 pounds. Okay. 17 are a little bit heavier. So they're not impossible to even lift up and flip over and wash out. They're not the most convenient things in the world. We have a couple that are plywood. Before I had the guts to start building in solid wood back probably in 2004 or so. Plywood ones, everyone loves the plywood ones because they're lighter and faster. But solid wood there's just so much more going on when you're building out of solid wood. And the point of what we're doing is not to build fast, quick boats, but to build boats that have as much content in them as possible. So we steam bend, we rivet, we we harvest occasionally. We harvest our own white oak for the backbones. We receive donations of oak from the Mystic Seaport Museum. We buy huge truckloads of cedar from guys with cedar swamps on their property from all up and down the eastern seaboard. In any case, so I want to talk a little bit about the community we operate in, and I mentioned in some of these stats earlier. This is a very, very challenged neighborhood. Poverty rate is double, 42%, double that of New York City. 30% of the families make less than $15,000 a year. Just think about that for a second. There's a 33% on-time high school graduation rate. Of 45% of adults have less than a high school diploma or equivalent degree, and like I said before, it's got some of the very worst air quality in the city. And not surprisingly, the crime rates are very, very high. So this is just a tough place to live, a tough place to grow up. And I think all of which calling for the need for the work that we're doing. And I think very importantly, we are located here. Kids who participate in Rocking the Boats programs don't need to go somewhere else to have these extraordinary experiences. I mean, they come from all around the Bronx. Many come from very, very local communities. Others come from neighboring communities. But the idea is that you don't have to go to some far distant place to have these experiences. You can have them in your own neighborhood or in adjacent neighborhoods, in your own borough, in your own city. And that is hugely important in that you have the opportunity to access these experiences within your reach. And therefore, you also have the opportunity to access the possibilities in your life already within you. You don't have to be somebody else or go somewhere else to be successful.
I love that. That's great.
part of what helps us fulfill those goals is our social work support. So along with our technical programs, we have wraparound social work support, 3 social workers on staff who offer social emotional counseling, academic support through high school and college, individual and group counseling, job readiness training, all kinds of college readiness programs and helping kids get into school and into trade schools. And then we hand out upwards of about $100,000 a year in cash scholarships for a wide range of post-secondary opportunities. The impact, on average, 96% of Rocking the Boat students graduate from high school on time. Honestly, I'm less concerned about on time than whether they graduate. I don't really care how many years it takes you to get there, as long as you get there. But this year, amazingly, even through everything that's been going on, all 11 of our seniors are graduating on time, and all 11 of them are actually going off to college. We generally have a number who are going into alternative tracks. In fact, we've had 4 kids go to the landing school who wouldn't boat building over the last couple of years. This year, they're all going to college. Within 6 years, 57% of Rocking the Boat alumni have received their bachelor's degrees, which we're hugely proud of. And if you think back to those neighborhood stats, it's quite a contrast. And then a huge part of our work is long-term relationship building, and 49% of the kids who join Rocking the Boat's program stick around for 2 years and more. So that's that relationship is what allows us to do the work and have the impact. And then we do all sorts of social emotional assessments, and it's at least 95%, although I'd argue that it should be 100. But the scores show 95% of our participants grow in social emotional competency as a result of their participation. Times have not been normal. On March 15th, the DOE suspended school, and we, as a result, suspended in-person programs. The program had started on March 3rd, so we had a whole 2 weeks of programming here in person, and we hit pause, took a week to deal with the whiplash, and then started developing a virtual program, which we launched on March 30th, called VRTB, Virtual Rocking the Boat. We ran all semester long. We just finished it up a week ago Friday. Boat building, environmental science, and sailing programs, all 3 of our tracks for both our student 9th and 10th grade and our job skills 11th and 12th grade levels. And kids had a chance to basically continue participating in a radically altered but nonetheless engaging fashion in all 3 of those programmatic tracks, along with a great deal of social work support, both individually and in groups. We did a little video. Kinney Glass, who is our job skills sailing program director and a student graduate of the program himself, convened a little conversation with a couple kids. So let's run that now.
We'll talk more about what's been keeping us sane during the quarantine. First of all, how am I doing with this interview?
Pretty well. You're doing amazing.
How do you think Rocking the Boat as a whole is doing with virtual Rocking the Boat?
That's good that you guys went out of your way to bring us the stuff that we need. Like, you guys didn't have to do that. So I feel like it just shows that you guys actually care. Like the whiteboards and the markers and the ropes.
Yeah, the care packages, and you can keep all that stuff. You know how handy whiteboards are? I hear a lot of, I miss being on the water. Tell me about it. But at least the weather's been a little crappy, so it's like, oh, well, I don't mind being in the house today.
Yeah, but when the weather was crappy at RTP and then we'd still have to like go out on the water or something, it would make everything better. Because I don't know, there's something about the water and like the wind. Just, I didn't realize how much like I appreciated it.
It just helps like having people to talk to that you would normally talk to in RTB about your problem. Like, especially the topics that we're touching on now is like how to manage your time and how to make sure that your health is okay.
Also, social work kind of gives me an extra thing to look forward throughout the week. Do you guys have any projects you're looking forward to?
One thing I'm really excited about is planting like the marigolds at home. It's like so cool that we get to like all do this together, even though like we're apart.
After all of this is over, what do you look forward to doing the most? If you say Rocking the Boat, you get extra points. All
honestly just want to see people, like friends and family that I haven't seen for a while, even before this started, because I like hugging people.
Wow, that was really beautiful. So many sentiments that I feel myself, and you know, they're experiencing them in their education, and you're facilitating making those things happen. That was incredible.
Yeah, that was it was a pretty wonderful thing for me as the leader of this organization to be able to see. You know, I don't back when I was the boat building program director, boat building instructor, only staff person. I had much more in the way of individual personal relationships with the students. Now I say hi to them, but I don't really get to know them. And just being able to see a video like this made me feel like, all right, we're doing something right here. So that was great. Let me quickly run through a couple photographs.
Yeah.
There are actually some of these are stills that you've already seen in the video, just to give you a sense of the 3 tracks of our programs, and then maybe we'll take a walk and I'll give you a little sense of what the shop looks like.
That'd be great.
So in our environmental science programs, they're all based on the foundation of them is using the Whitehalls. We do a whole range of real environmental research and restoration projects. This is a bird survey that we're involved in with the New York City Audubon Society. And each of our scientific projects has a scientific partner. So again, just like building a boat that then gets used, we're not just learning about science, we're actually doing it. So we collect data on a wide range of shorebirds and wading birds, and then share that data with our scientific partners. This is water quality monitoring on our dock at our park at Hunts Point Riverside Park. Water quality monitoring data shared with the Bronx River Alliance. We initiated a sort of pilot project last year where we built hanging wetland boxes with Spartina and hung them from a number of different spots along the river. Here, again, using the Whitehalls as the platform. They are our work boats. I think we're probably using Whitehalls in more of a closer to a traditional way that they've been used. I can't imagine anyone else using them in you know, it's one thing to take a nice joyride, but another to actually use them as work boats, which is what we do. This is one of our group programs during the school day with younger kids. They're seining at our waterfront. Keep in mind, this is all in Hunts Point. We do a great deal of oyster research. We're doing an oyster dissection project here. We work with the Billion Oyster Project primarily, as well as the New York New Jersey Baykeeper on that work. And in the last year, we started doing a lot of microplastics research. So these are tiny, tiny little shreds of plastic that come from all sorts of different things, including our clothing, and end up in the river. We're working with a number of different scientific organizations collecting data on microplastics. And this is how we bake down the plastic in our lab. So we bring the water samples, pour them in a jar, bake them, and look at them under UV light, and we're able to actually figure out what the plastics are and what they were derived from.
Wow.
Boat building. In our boat building shop, we build real wooden boats. In this case, we're actually building a boat with this is that 26-footer I was talking about with plywood planking. This is a Herreshoff 12.5 replica. A Herreshoff was
classic boat. Yes, that's a monument. Yeah.
It doesn't get much more classic than a Herreshoff 12.5. Nathaniel Herreshoff was like the Albert Einstein of wooden boat design, and this was sort of his gentleman's day sailor, which we spent about 2.5 years building, and aptly named Persistence. That was the student's idea. And here she is on launch day. This is two Junes ago, and now she's a member of our sailing fleet. On the sailing, we sail both in traditional wooden and in modern boats. This is a Hobie Wave, a plastic boat. There is Persistence under sail. This is our sailing ground. It's just at the mouth of the Bronx River where it connects to the East River, and it's this amazing little spot that you would never think of. And you know, you ask sailors, have you ever sailed at the mouth of the Bronx River? And they didn't even know it was there. So we have it kind of all to ourselves, and we have this. You saw it in the video, and you'll see another shot. This floating dock and mooring setup out there. We do a lot of training in the classroom on points of sale and sale theory. And then our social work programs, we have a library and social work group space where we meet in small groups. We talk about all the college persistence and post-secondary preparation work. At the end of the summer every year, we have a big scholarship award celebration. Everyone and all the graduating seniors receive scholarships and have a big dinner. This is a picture of them holding up their certifications with their scholarships that range from $1,000 to $5,000 each. Yeah, that's a little bit about rocking the boat. So
wow.
With that,
we will drop all those links into the email. We send out an email on Fridays wrapping up from all of our tours. So anybody watching, you'll get links to the videos and the website and the social media. So thank you. That was fantastic.
Sure.
So you mentioned we can get a look at the shop. I'd love to see what you're working on now, or what you were working on when things shut down.
Sure. Let's see if we can get the technology to cooperate, and we'll take a little walk. And first I'll put on my my mask.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's what we do nowadays. Tell me if you can't understand me, but
you're coming through loud and clear.
Hang on and we'll make the transition.
Excellent. Excellent. So again, folks who are watching, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I will send them on to Adam Askin right here. And thank you, Howard. Really appreciate your comment there.
All right. Are you able to see me and hear me?
Yes. Loud, clear, and in portrait, we'll go to landscape once you're out of the office there.
All right. There we go. All right, so we'll start off with my office. This is where I spend my days. Some pictures of us, and actually this in particular is a poster of some of our work with Pete Seeger, who was one of my inspirations and became a close friend and an advisor until he died in 2014. And Pete and Tochi Seeger Alumni Award, which we hand out every year, and we'll actually be doing at our a virtual annual gala called the Rocking the Boat Show. We'll send you information about that. This is our office. We operate out of a 6,000 square foot former warehouse building that we actually own and bought in 2017. We've been in the building for since 2010, so a little over a decade. And I'll take you to the front door as if you were walking into Rocking the Boat. Here we are.
Did I see railroad tracks outside?
You did see railroad tracks. We are literally on the other side of the tracks. And those tracks run into the Hunts Point produce market. About twice a day, a train comes through.
Wow.
And about 3 to 5 miles an hour, so not such a safety risk. And we wave, and sometimes that means kids are late to getting to program because they have to wait for the train to go by. Other times it means I'm late to dinner because I can't parking lot until the train is by, but it's a decent excuse.
Howard is watching. He says his wife spent the first 10 years of her life at 136th Street and Willis Avenue. So
not far at all. Not far at all. Yep. So in our lobby, very importantly, the boat hanging from the ceiling is the first boat we ever built in the basement of a apartment building in the West Bronx. The boat is named the Amy Watkins, actually named after my girlfriend and a social work intern at this community organization we were based out of, who was tragically murdered in 1999 as we were building this boat, and the community decided to name it after her and put a line up on the sheer plank called that was a quote from a group of women, domestic violence survivors that she had been working with. This is about creating a new reality, and I think that very much defines the work that we've been doing now over the last 21 years. And far more recently, the staff together decided maybe 2 or 3 years ago to put up a sign, "You are welcome here," right in our lobby, because that is really what we are. Everyone who walks in is welcome, regardless of who you are, where you're from, what you know. We have no previous expectations of anything, and the work we do here, the technical work, building boats, sailing, environmental science, and I think one of the powers of the work is no one has a clue what they're doing when they walk in here, and there's no expectation that you should, and that creates a wonderfully balanced and equal sort of starting point. This is our social workers' offices right up in front, so they're able to work, see kids as they walk in the door. And I'm taking you into the shop, and here we go. This is our boat shop. It's out of the 6,000 square feet. It's about 2,500 of it. We were building as of March 12th, a 17-foot cedar and oak Whitehall, and a 27 foot long replica of this boat, the American Star. And so I'll get up a little closer, and actually I should say, this boat hanging from the ceiling, you'll see it says Con Edison on it. When we bought the building, we of course hit up all the sponsors we could. So we're now standing in the Con Edison boat shop, and they like the idea of sort of acknowledge that. So we painted one of our old boats, coincidentally a boat named Current, which kind of worked out.
Ah, that's very cute.
In Con Ed colors, and there she hangs from the ceiling. But this is Ben Bentley, our Job Skills Boat Building Program Director. He's one of the couple of people we have here on site at Rocking the Boat, in part because the governor made boat repair an essential activity about a month ago. So we were able to bring a skeleton crew back on here to do some work on site. But Ben, yeah, if you could maybe say a couple of things about American Star.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a replica.
And I just want to say, Stephen, can you hear Ben when he speaks?
Yep. Yeah. It's he's a little quiet, but I can hear okay.
Great.
Yeah. So this is American Star. She's a replica of a rowing gig, Whitehall rowing gig that was originally built in Brooklyn in 1820. So about 200 years later, we're building it pretty much exactly as she would have been built with the kids, and this one will be for our use here in the program. So.
Yep.
Very cool.
And I think one of the how many people does she eventually will she sit?
She's meant for 5, so 4 rowers
and a cox. And one of the things I love about this boat, part of the finger, is this massive transom she's got here. In fact, it looks a lot bigger on the video than it actually is. I think it's maybe, 12 inches wide. So it's this 27-foot boat with this tiny little transom.
Practically a dory or a canoe. It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a little tombstone transom. Since we're here up top, this is our steam box. So
nice.
All of our frames and planks, wood doesn't like to be bent. And so we steam it. We drop the steam box down, and it's, high level complex technology. We boil water turns into steam goes into a box. We stick the wood in the box. It gets soft. We pull it out and we stick it on the boat. And I think that there's an old boat building saying, if you make twice as many frames as you need, you won't break any. If you make exactly as many as you need, you'll break half. So, so we always make twice as many. But in any case, this here is a 17-foot Whitehall.
Before we get into the Whitehall, I just want to tell folks, the Star story is incredible, and I will find links and make sure we include them to talk about. It brings in the Marquis de Lafayette. It's really extraordinary. So we'll expound on that in the email that we send out. But yeah, I definitely want to hear about the Whitehall.
Perfect. Great. So this is a very, very traditional 17-foot Whitehall. It's the plans originally come from a guy named Howard Chappell, who kind of wrote the book on. He was a maritime historian, collected lines drawings of all these boats that were rotting.
Yeah, a little finger in the screen there, Adam. There you go.
Yeah, thanks. Let me hold it. I'll just hold it with my right hand. And then a guy named John Gardner took that line drawing and created a construction plan. And he was the boat builder and historian at Mystic Seaport Museum, and it was just a legend. And so we've been building this design right from John Gardner's drawings really for over 20 years, and it's very, very traditionally built. It's oak frames and oak backbone, so it's the stem up front and the keel up at, well, the top, which is actually the bottom. We build our boats upside down, if you hadn't figured that out yet. Big boats you build right side up, small boats upside down. A lot easier to access everything when you're standing over it rather than crouching under it. The planking, and as I said before regarding the oak, much of the oak is either harvested with landowners who have trees that they need to take down, and will go up and contract a sawyer and get it sliced up into planks, or as the case with a lot of the oak we've been using recently, it's been donated to us by the Mystic Seaport Museum. Really, they're just offcuts of oak from big ships that they've been in projects that they've been working off. So their offcuts from the big ships is perfect stock for us to use for our small boats, and we have a wonderful relationship there. The planking, and we've got 3 planks on either side on this boat, is made of cedar. It's a Atlantic white cedar, and that we get really anywhere we can find it. But I think this batch came from North Carolina, and we buy it in large quantity every couple of years, and then kind of work through it.
I'm kind of glad that the process stopped where it did, because at such a dramatic moment in the shaping of the boat, that incredible turn from the stem to the very minimal dead rise as you're going along the the bottom of the boat there. That's just an extraordinary twist in that lumber.
It is, yeah, and you can see. Maybe I'll go around to the stern. It's about to go around what's called the turn of the bilge. And that's when, and you can see in the planking at the stern, there's a huge twist in there.
Yeah.
And that so we steam, actually we don't use the steam box, we use sort of a plastic sleeve that we put over the hood end, the end of each plank, and then boil water into that and fill up the sleeve and steam it right in place that way. Yeah, so, and then once we get around that kind of really tight curve there, we'll need to be steaming again. This is a lap strake construction. Small boats are built kind of in 2, traditionally speaking, in 2 different ways. Either lap strake, which is overlap planking, so you can see here how the planks sort of step up.
Sort of like siding of a house.
Yep, exactly. And then you can see at the very end how the planks are then tapered in and something called a gain. That's what that joint is. It's called a gain, and that's how they all sort of come together into one face. What's not yet here, and what's not is how these planks are then fastened. We get a little untraditional in that we use an adhesive caulk, built by kids after all, to join the planks, but then we reinforce that joint with rivets. So they have not started riveting this boat yet, but what will next go in after each plank goes on are copper rivets every couple inches throughout the entire length of each plank. The other method of traditional small boat construction is called Carvel Planking, where planks are edge set and the result is a smooth shaped hull. In this case, they have to be fastened into the frames. They have no other way to hold in place without the frames. You need to frame first, and then they're sealed with cotton caulk, and then bedded with a compound over the cotton. In this case, if it wasn't clear already, what you're seeing here is the transom and the backbone, the skeg and the planking, and it's all sitting on this mold. All those big curved pieces there are not actually part of the boat. They're the mold that the boat's being built on. Same with the American Star. Oh, there's my son Jonah coming in, but which probably means it's time for me to wrap up soon. But yeah, that's a little bit about a Whitehall. They're just beautiful, beautiful boats. They're really fun to build. They're challenging. They're not like just a flat bottom skiff. I mean, the boat hanging from the ceiling, for example, is a much simpler construction process with a flat bottom and a hard chine. A Whitehall is not a simple boat, but it's tremendously rewarding to build and even more rewarding to use.
We got a couple of questions
I'm
here.
gonna say hi to folks.
Oh.
You're saying hi to like how many people are on the?
We have about 11 people out there. So
all right, very.
So we would fit comfortably in the real world. So a couple of questions from those folks. One is when do students come? Are they coming after school or on the weekends, or is this like during the school day? When are students there?
So kids come. Well, most primarily outside of school. Is the youth development program exists after school and over the summer. And I'll just quickly take you out to our yard for a moment since we're here. Cool. This is our yard behind Rocky and Boat, and you can see a couple of our boats. These are two sailboats that on our moorings, but for now, of course, we've brought them back inside. And listen to us is the park and then the river, and I can't see anything in the sun, so we'll head back inside. So kids, the youth development program, those kids who receive the social work services and after school and over the summer, but then we also run daytime programs for school groups where kids will come with their schools during the day, and that serves about 1,500 people a year. So on a typical day in normal times right now, it's we might very well have a group of kids out on the water or a group of kids in the shop, and then come 3:30 or 4 o'clock, the after school program kids will start trickling in.
Got it. And then you were talking about the extraordinary construction techniques and what it takes to make these boats. Question from Howard: have any of your students, to your knowledge, used the boat building skills they've learned in their professional lives, either as a direct cognate or transferable skills?
Here, let me just.
Yeah. Go ahead and transition back to the computer there, and I'll vamp while we look at your keyboard, and we'll get more people into. We've entered a visual loop there, but we'll get you back on in just a second. Thank you everyone for your questions. Really appreciate your involvement here. There he is.
And all right, how's that? I'm back.
It's good. You still have that echo? We have a little echo for me, but
no, I don't.
Take out the phone maybe, and we're all good. I think we can move forward.
I can just leave. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Great. So, sorry, you were saying have kids used boat building in their careers? And so four of our kids have gone on to the landing school for wooden boat building, and some of them have gone into maritime careers. I think the most successful kids have gone into construction careers. We have a number of people who are in the construction union. But I think the most important thing isn't about whether kids have gone into building boats, but whether they've gone into building successful lives. And I think so many of them have used this experience as a launching point to go into so many different directions, knowing that I created something real from scratch that actually worked. That's a pretty powerful thing. So.
Yeah, it's about transferable skills. You're teaching them how to build a boat, but in learning to build a boat, you're learning just how to complete a really complex project and geometry and water science and all these different things. Yep. And then a couple more questions. How many kids have gone through the program to date?
Well, I mean, about 30,000 kids have gone through the program overall. That being our public programs and our school-based programs and our after-school programs. But we have about 800 alumni who've gone through the youth development, the after-school and summer program, the intensive one, over the last 20 years. So. And
this is such great work. How are you funded? Who is supporting this work? And
we run about a $3 million annual budget, and that is almost entirely supported philanthropically. The only earned income we get is through school groups and some corporate groups. Others, if a bunch of adults wanted to come here and do a corporate team building, or even just a, I don't know, a fun day, then we would charge you. But everyone else, all the individuals we serve come for free. And in fact, in many cases, we pay them. And the money comes from foundations, from individuals, a little bit of corporate support, but it's really mostly foundations and individuals. And on the individual front, we have 2 annual fundraising events. One in normal times is a spring gala called Rocking the Boathouse at the Central Park Boathouse, where we commandeer the Central Park model boat pond and have sailboat races, and then give people a chance to go out rowing on the Central Park Lake in our Whitehalls.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then in the fall, the event we hold is called Rocking Manhattan. It's definitely one of the most unique things you can think of. It's a 29.5-mile row around Manhattan Island, and we do it on these 27-foot-long forward gigs, and people raise money kind of crowd funded wise to sponsor their teams. This year, the spring gala, of course, didn't happen, and we're doing this virtual show on July 9th that we're happy to spread the word about. And then Rocking Manhattan, very, very sadly, we are not going to be doing in boats this year. We just don't think that the public health situation is going to be in a position to actually facilitate that. And so we're doing a sort of deconstructed, abstract, impressionist version of Rocking Manhattan, where people will be able to, we're using the 29.5-mile goal as sort of an organizing principle, and teams will be able to convene in any way they want, anywhere they want, individually or in groups, as long as they do something physical that results in 29.5 miles. So we're still exploring whether that is, restricted to jogging, biking, other physical activity, or could it be knitting? I'm not so sure. We'll see. But we'll see what the organizing committee does. But that's a big way that we raise our money.
I can't wait to see what people come up with. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time here. Anything last words you want to wrap up with here, or missions you want to assign us?
Thanks so much for your interest and your attention, and it was really fun to show you all about what we're all about. And certainly, and encourage you to visit our website and rockingtheboat.org and all of our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. And then keep your eye out for a notice for this July 9th event, the Rocking the Boat Show, it's called. And we'd love to have you join us and learn more about our work, and obviously contribute if you're so able. We entirely depend, as I was saying, on the generosity of others to support our work. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Lots of love from the chatter on the chat box there about your program. So I think you've won a few fans today.
Great. Well, don't hesitate to jump on the website, sign up for a mailing list, make a contribution. We'd love to have you.
Will do. Thank you very much. Take care, Adam.
All right. Thanks again, Stefan.
And thank you all for joining us again. It's been a real pleasure having you along to help me share my excitement about this program. Again, coming up, we have tomorrow Missiles and Meteorites, looking at polar exploration coming out of the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Thursday, we're talking to artist Sarah Olson, learning to see the Earth. Friday, bring all your responses to your impressions of our programs, what you've liked, what we can do better, and what you'd like to see us do in the future as we all slowly reopen. I particularly loved this program today because it connected to so many of our other programs, which you can see in our library. If you're a subscriber, if you're a pass holder, you can check out our past programs. We talked about birding here today. We had a program on hawks yesterday. A lot of maritime issues connected with our program on Saturday with Frank Hanavan looking at knots. For those of you who did see that program, we talked a lot about Brian Toss and his book, The Rigger's Apprentice, and sadly, Sunday night, Brian Toss passed away from cancer. So I did want to acknowledge that since it has been part of our conversation here, and loss to the maritime community and to his hometown in Port Townsend and all the folks connected to him. So our best wishes go out to his family and to everyone whose life he affected. And thank you for sharing in his life by learning from his work here at Turnstile Tours. We'll look forward to seeing you in happier circumstances and subjects in the near future. Thank you for joining us. Take care until tomorrow.